But hello, all you BC WrestlePod nerds, and welcome to another NXTilosos review, your weekly NXT review show here at the BC WrestlePod Network. Of course, I am El Jefe, Mikey, as always, and joined with me today is Papa Oso himself, Will, who I got to give credit to him for holding it down with Kilt and Adolfo last week for Great American Bash after, I forgot to put up the slide. I was so pissed when Adolfo told me, like, yeah, you forgot to put up the slides. I'm like, damn it. I do. I was so mad. I was like, it's all ready to go. It's in order. We're good to go. No. Oh, okay. Josh was okay. It felt like filler. It was fine. There was just a lot of wrestling before I left. But anyways, we're here to review the Tuesday, July 22nd edition of, you know, NXT. We are building towards Heatwave, which is going to be coming up at the end of August. There are some big implications about certain titles and where we're going for certain things. And it is Wednesday at the time of this review. So if you have yet to see TNA Slammiversary, folks, well, be prepared to be spoiled because we kind of have to talk about things that happened at Slammiversary that was apparent on the show. We're going to talk about these things because it is Wednesday and I still have feelings about certain things, but we'll get there when we get there. But if you are new to BC WrestlePod, however you found us, we appreciate you stopping by. Make sure to follow us, subscribe on YouTube, follow us on Twitch and Kick. But if full-length reviews is not your thing, you can follow us on all the social media platforms at BC WrestlePod, where you can take a look at all of our clips from our reviews that summarize our main points. You can also read our report cards and tell us why you think we were right or wrong, because I love interacting with folks on both spectrums of the side of the argument. Of course, we also have some merchandise at fourthwall.com. It is still summer. Get yourself a tank top. Get yourself a hat, because we out here be looking like, rock lobster out here for some of us. Be like, also, regardless if you tan or not, please make sure to put on sunscreen this summer because there's a rise in people getting like melanoma and stuff like that out here. Skin cancer is not a joke, peoples. So make sure you take care of yourself and drink lots of water. Is hot. It is scorcher. So yeah. Alrighty. So without further ado, let's get into NXT because there are some stuff we need to talk about. So first and foremost, I didn't include a picture, but I was just like, Booker T. I know we have our ups and downs with you, Booker T, but like just for future reference, it is Blake Monroe, not Monica Monroe. I was just like, I can't with you. You are doing too much, man. Doing too much. But after we get that little introduction, because we are in Texas for this week's edition of NXT, we kick things off with an 8-person tag team match. I was like, Lord help us. So this was, of course, the team of Zaruka. So Sol Ruka, our NXT Women's North American champion, and Zarya, teaming up with our NXT tag team champions of Hank and Tank, taking on the entirety of the Colleen. So that is Tatum Paxley, Izzy Dame, Sean Spears, and Nico Vance. I made sure to get Nico's name right because sometimes I forget his name. So I'm going to be so for real. I think this is probably the funnest match of the whole entire night for me, which is crazy because this is what opened up the show. Everybody looked like they had a good time. I like that our babyface team of our NXT tag champs and, Zaruka all were matching in terms of like wearing basic white t-shirts and jorts of some sort of kind. It was just like, see, I love when these one-off like multi-person matches, like everybody coordinates. We love good fashion icons up in here. This was a lot of fun. Hank and Tank and Zaruka dominating the offense for the majority of this match. And you know what? I was just like, something's gonna give, something's gonna happen. And then sure enough, we got a bit of the lights cutting off because Dark State for some reason is like interrupting things again. Stay tuned on Friday because I was just like, y'all cannot be up in here causing racket in NXT when y'all got your butts whooped at Slammiversary. Y'all lost at Slammiversary, but I digress. Which would allow Tatum Paxley to pin Zarya for the win. And so your winners for this match was the Colleen. Yeah. This sucks because, like, this is probably my favorite match of the whole entire night from beginning to end, which is very sucky to say because we still got more matches to talk about. I will say that other matches had good moments for it, especially when we have character turns, especially when we get to our main event match. But from beginning to end, this was probably my favorite match of the entire night. And I was just like, if this was my favorite match, I don't know how the rest of the show is going to go. So we're going to find out with all of that. But Papa Oso, I'm gonna throw it to you. What did you think of our 8-person tag team match to kick off the show this week?
I thought it was fun. I really enjoyed it. It was again, it was my favorite match of the night because the rest of this episode was just too much talking for my taste. But no, this one was fun. When they were 8-man, I was like, "What?" And when they all came, I love the fact. I got a couple of things. I love the fact that Tatum was the one that got the pin. I hate the fact that this is making that group more successful, and that irritates me. But other than that, yeah, I really enjoyed this. It was a lot of fun. It was actually a lot of fun to watch, and I am so done with Dark State. Go the hell away. I literally just go away.
Yeah.
I don't understand you. I really don't.
I mean, stay tuned because I'll probably make a video. I'll make an op-ed piece probably next week about, Dark State and just how factions in wrestling don't really work the same in the current era of wrestling and give examples from some of the companies. But stay tuned for that review because this week's video I will be uploading before the Slammiversary review, talking about the implications of what it means for NXT to hold both the TNA World and Knockouts Championships, which stay tuned to our review of Slammiversary on Friday because we're going to dig deep. We're going to talk about the event and we're going to give our conspiracy theories and everything because I don't know, man. TNA got to do something, but we're neither here nor there. But again, this is probably my favorite match of the whole entire night. This is a lot of fun, but we move on. So we move on after we get a brief, pre-tape before the show started of Ava banning Jordan Grace from the building because she put her hands on Robert Stone and general manager of WWE Evolve, Stevie Turner. Ava has banned Jordan from the building. And Jordan ominously says one way or another she's getting her hands on Blake Monroe tonight. We're going to talk about that when we get to it later. But right now, we have JC Jane addressing the NXT, universe. Of course, our NXT Women's Champ and newly crowned TNA Knockouts Champion. So JC is double champ. I sorted through my feelings a little bit with this one still since Sunday. And again, I want to emphasize that I am not mad at JC and I'm not mad at Masha. I am mad at the people in the back who made this decision. But what gave me a little bit of an eyebrow raise and wondering, I was just like, oh, okay, so we probably won't see her hold these things for long, to be completely honest, is because she gets to the ring, and of course, it's her and the rest of Fatal Influence, Jasmine Nix and Fallon Henley. JC talks about how nobody believed in her and all this good stuff. And I was just like, JC, I love you, girl, but let's be so for real. I know you say these parts because everybody on the internet has been talking about this. Be like, what are we doing with you? But then it got a little spicy because she says, she went into Slammiversary as NXT Women's Champ. She walked out as a double champ. And that whole entire match at Slammiversary against Masha, nobody thought she was going to win. And she proved everyone wrong. And now she's a double champ because she did everything herself. And the face crack of the century of watching Jasmine and Fallon be like, hold up, girl. I was like, oh my God. I was like, well, the breakup is going to be happening probably sooner than we think. But then JC gets interrupted by Lash Legend. Lash Legend gives her flowers to JC for walking out as double champ at Slammiversary. But she wasn't the only one to have an incredible, showcasing. Lash reminds us that she made it to the final two during the Evolution All Women's pay-per-view 2 weeks ago and being the last one standing before getting eliminated by Stephanie. And so Lash is like, you know what? I want to challenge for this NXT Women's Championship because I have yet to get an opportunity to do so. And I've been racking up wins here and there and showcasing out on main roster. So if I can hang with the main roster girls, I'm about to be this NXT Women's Champion. I was like, yes, Lash, give me that confidence. And then we get interrupted again by Jada Parker. Jada comes in once again, also giving JC flowers and giving Lash flowers too. But she's like, girl, if you think that you're going to hold on that for long, I was just like, welcome to being a champ, babe, because everybody going to come after your title. Now that you got 2 titles, Jada basically told JC, you better keep your head on a swivel because not only do you got the NXT girls coming for that championship, but the TNA girls are going to be wanting to come and get that title back from TNA too. And without uttering these words, Jada's demeanor basically told JC, was just like, I don't think you're ready for that type of pressure, girl, because you're going to be having opponents from all sides. And the way that JC is treating Fallon and Jasmine too in this whole thing, because then she orders them to beat up Lash and Jada. And Jasmine and Fallon are like, girl, nah, we ain't gonna tussle with them. So JC drops the title, she initiates the fight, then everybody jumps in and we start fighting with each other. Everybody gets thrown out. I was just like, oh, Icarus, you are flying too close to the sun. And this downfall, I love JC and I don't want nothing bad to happen to her, but this downfall and this ego trip is going to be juicy. I also apply this to when we get to Trick segment later in the evening, too, because these NXT champions, both of them have a similar path of their egos are crazy. And I cannot wait. And hopefully, this means TNA starts coming in and start taking these titles off of these people. Be like, no. So, yeah, there was a lot in this segment. There's a lot of talking. But basically, JC now has to keep her head on a swivel because not only is the NXT women's locker room coming for that title, but you definitely know that the Knockouts division in TNA is about to be plotting to come get that title back from her, too. I was like, oh, Masha's not done with you. Have we not learned the rule of horror movies, JC? If you're going to take out the villain, you need to double tap that and make sure she stays down. You know Masha's coming back for revenge. I'm kind of here for it. Well, in a world in 2025, JC is also the TNA Knockouts champion. I was just like, never. I did not have that on my bingo card. But what do you think of this whole segment?
I didn't either. Well, this segment kind of set up what the rest of the episode was going to be, which is just a lot of unnecessary jibber jabber. I thought this segment went on way too long. It could have been half the length and still could have been shaved down a little bit. I love it, but I'm just, I'm a little floored about Chasey Jane holding both of those titles right now. I mean, good for her. Good for you, girl. But I'm curious as to where they're going with this. Because I don't see a positive outcome for JC in this situation. And I don't know if they're just setting her up to be defeated, and which is fine. And if they do it right, it could, as you said, it could be super juicy. And I'd love to see either Jada or Lash have that NXT title for sure. But yeah, it was, it actually got more interesting when they started fighting at the end.
Right. So all
But
the girls be fighting. Yeah.
yep.
And later in the show, because I'm trying to remember if I got the slide for it, but later in the night, the girls were trying to figure out, okay, so we getting 2 women's matches next week. Who gonna do the work? Who gonna face Jada? Who gonna face Lash? And then of course, Hall of Famer Michelle McCool kind of helps mostly JC figure it out that Jasmine's gonna be taking on Jada and Fallon's gonna take on Lash next week. And I'm just like, I love Jasmine and Fallon, but I love Black Excellence. I want them both to beat their opponents. So we'll see what happens with all of that. But we get into this match. This was kind of long. I'm not even going front. I did not expect this match to go through like 3 commercial breaks, y'all. But we get Ricky Saints versus Jasper Troy. You can tell that the stage breaking it broke when it wasn't supposed to. But I have to give kudos to Jasper for making it work. He's like, all right, I'm going to just dive on Ricky instead like of what we were initially going to do. So let's do that. NXT, I love y'all, but I need you to stop throwing Ricky Saints into feuds where his character development is he's getting murdered on my television screen every week. Like it was with All Ego, Ethan Page, like him getting brutalized with a chair. And now he going through the stage. We had a Falls Count Anywhere match at Great American Bash. Like, why is Ricky being a punching bag? Like, what's happening, yo? I like this match, but I feel like I would have liked it better if we cut like 7 minutes from it, because this went through 3 commercial breaks. And I was just like, this is like a 15, 17-minute match. And I'm just like, we did not need this one to be that long, especially with the end result of Jasper winning via count out. I was like, oh boy, here we go. You know that we're going to run it back again. I'm just like, man, poor Ricky. I was just like, either let Ricky do something else, or like if the rumors are true and we're just waiting until after SummerSlam in a couple weeks, like just call Ricky up to main roster, y'all. Cause like, what are we doing with Mr. Saints here? I was just like, this is getting wild. Again, I liked the match, but it just was too long for me. I'm sorry. This is too long of a match. Yeah.
Yep. I don't even understand this match. I didn't really understand this match. I liked the match, but I didn't get this. When did he start having beef with? Was it because he's body slammed him backstage that during him and Ethan's whole
Yeah,
thing?
that's exactly how this came to be, like, after
Really?
what happened at Great American Bash, and I was just like, "Get it," but that's kinda like a paper thin, like, reasoning.
And again, I'm gonna say it again, and I'll probably say it to the day I die or go away, whatever, disappear, whatever. Jasper Troy is Ubafemi 2.0. His entrance, the way he looks, the way he holds himself. I'm like, what is this? Are we just trying to cut his teeth on everybody? I don't understand what Jasper Troy's storyline is. What is his storyline? Because right now, I don't think he has one other than just randomly fighting everybody. I mean, he had a problem with, Javon. He has a problem with Ricky. And then he has, who's he going to have a problem with next just because he looked at him? I really don't. Again, I like this match. And I agree with you. I'm just like, why is Ricky always getting his ass kicked? Every time.
I don't get it. But Jasper wins via countout. We move on. I'm going to summarize this because now we just going to get through the points. Because from here on out, I was watching, but I was just like, I feel not invested. But here we go. This was also a segment that was way too long. And literally, I could summarize this as it could have been an email. Trick Williams comes into the ring. He still is the TNA World Champion. Fine. Tune into Slammiversary review on Friday for our full thoughts. He claims to be the greatest TNA World Champion. And then he calls out the Undertaker. And so Undertaker comes out in the American Badass persona, gets into the ring, tells Trick, he has it all. He has the charisma. The skill sets are pretty decent, but he's very arrogant. And that, it is not the same Trick Williams that won the NXT championship to what we see now. Trick fires back saying that, basically this whole thing is watching Trick get too big for his britches. And then Undertaker gives him a choke slam for his troubles for it. And I was just like, I loved what we did. Again, it was way too long. I was like, Undertaker, let's wrap this up, man. Let's wrap it up. Now, the question is, who's going to lose their TNA championship first? My money's probably on JC before we get to Trick. Again, our full thoughts will be there, but really quickly, my conspiracy theory is that Trick is probably going to lose it at Bound for Glory. Again, we'll go into full details Friday for Slammiversary, but I was just like, it was just really long. We move on.
You know what could have been? It should have been literally Undertaker walking into the room, walk into the ring, grab him by the throat, slam him to the ground and go, that's where you belong.
And then leave.
And then walk out. Seriously.
I mean,
and I would have been like, hell yes.
I got this. Cool. All righty. So again, the downfall of Trick and JC is going to be an interesting tale. We'll see how long we go with it. Yeah. Again, this cowboy outfit is wild. Everybody's cowboy outfits. I was like, I know we're in Texas, y'all. But anyways, that's a whole different podcast of what parts of Americana South you can pick. But I am kind of mad because I'm like, Ren kind of killed it here. Ren killed it here. Miss Ren Sinclair, you killed it here. And I was just like, damn. I was like, NXT, can we do something more with Ren? I feel like she is amazing. I will say though, I really did enjoy Blake's new entrance with the whole mirror and everything. I was like, you know what? This is cheesy, but I love me some good cheese in wrestling. This was a solid match between Blake Monroe and Ren was doing amazing, but of course, now it seems that we know what Blake's finisher. It's like a modified future shock DDT, which looks hella vicious, which is really great. I was like, yes, she pretty. But she gonna disfigure you with that finisher. It's gonna be so good. So again, we knew that the purpose of this match was to give Blake her first official win in singles competition. Ren does an amazing job. Blake gets on the mic afterwards talking about Jordan. We see Jordan off camera, jumping through the crowd, fighting through security. We get a whole entire chase. And there's a chair involved, and Blake hits a future shock DDT on Jordan Grace on the floor. I'm just like, this is how you make me care about a feud because Jordan is out for blood. And I'm kind of here for watching Jordan go down the I'm going to kill this chick lane. I was like, thank you. This is the intensity I feel like this women's division needs sometimes. And I'm just like, here we go. And I'm kind of glad that this is the first feud for Blake too. We're not immediately throwing her into the championship scene. We'll probably get to there at some point, but this is a nice feud to start Blake with before possibly throwing her in the championship scene. So match was great. Post-match stuff was awesome too. I was just like, this was a highlight for me too.
I agree. I also agree with you about Ren. I think that she is really kind of showing her outstandability. I mean, she just looked good. I knew what this match was all about too, and which is unfortunate because that it had to be against Ren. But I did enjoy this match. It was probably my number 2 match of the night. And of course, anytime my girl Jordan is involved, I love it.
Yeah.
Even though she got slammed into a chair, but that's okay.
Yeah. So again, it's furthering the feud. We'll probably get something at Heatwave come August, but we'll see what happens. So we move on though. Again, this is a segment that could have been an email. I'm just like, this went on for way too long. All Ego Ethan Page is like, I don't want to be the North American champion. I was like, cool. I was just like, in fact, America's not that great. And I'm like, also cool because I agree with you on that point, Ethan. America kind of sucks right now. And then he it's like, I'm gonna be the all North American slash Canadian champion. I was like, all right, don't be pushing it. I was like, don't push it, Ethan. Then we start getting the national anthem. And I was like, okay, let's wrap this up. So basically, this whole it's again, we could just summarize this segment as Ethan is now at the all American slash all Canadian NXT champion. And he's just like, Canada is better than America. And I'm just like, I was like, of course we're in Texas. There's guys, I'm just saying this right now because this is something that we had to learn at some point. There's a difference between nationalism and patriotism. So when you chanting USA stuff, I was like, that is nationalism, not patriotism. But I digress. But thank God we get interrupted by the TNA of Director of Authority, Santino. I was like, I knew Santino was going to be here because he said on his anniversary he was going to. This was not how I imagined him being here, though. I thought he was going to talk about, hey, we need to figure out what we're going to do to get these TNA titles back. But no, Santino's like, Ethan, you suck. You don't represent the NXT North American Championship. So guess what? I'm going to fight you for this title next week. And I'm like, okay. So we are getting All Ego Ethan Page versus Santino next week for the NXT North American Championship. I was like, do I think Santino gonna win? In my head, no. But you know what? Again, I put this out there and wrestling companies ain't gonna do it. But imagine Santino wins this thing, takes it back to TNA, and we just start getting people crossing over to get these titles back. I was like, it breaks out where now we got to do a full TNA versus NXT show and, all sorts of stuff. But I digress. So I'm like, do I think Santino gonna win? No. Would it be amazing if he did? Yes. But this was a long segment too. I was like, what are we doing? This is like 20 whole minutes of my life I'm never getting back. It could have been.
And I have to say that
I know, baby.
this segment was stupid in the fact that he kept talking about freaking Canada and then talking about North America. And I'm like, Canada's North America, right? I mean, you know that, right? I mean,
I was gonna say,
Canada,
I was like, you
US,
are not this
Mexico,
stupid. I
that's
like,
North America.
like,
Exactly. I'm
it's
like,
like
because let me
no,
tell you,
no man. The Canadian education system. I know that they'd be doing pretty good educating people out here in
oh
the
yeah,
world,
but
but
this was not a good example of it.
no, it was not. I was just like, but we're getting this match next week. I'm excited. This should be fun. We get into our main event, which is the triple threat for the NXT Championship. Here's the thing on paper, this could have been my favorite match of the night. Let me tell you why it wasn't. Because in the span of 14 minutes, which I believe was the length of this match, we spent the first 50% of this match watching a sped up version of the downfall of Briggs and Inamura within this match because they try to be on the same page and then they accidentally, as I put it, air quotes, like breaking up pins and everything. And then once Briggs put Oba's hand for a rope break, Inamura's like, nah, we're far enough in. And he's like, nah, fuck it. Now it's everybody for himself. And I was like, from that point and for the remainder of the match, that's when this match got good. It's like, it's a triple threat. Like Mario Party, you check your friendship at the door, and it is every man for this title. I was so mad. I was like, had we not spent the first 50% of the match doing a sped up version of the breakdown between Inamura and Briggs, I would have been okay with it. Because poor Oba was mostly doing a lot of the liner in this part. I was like, you could have just had a number one contenders match between Inamura and Briggs. And then the following week, you could have had an NXT championship match. Like, this triple threat was wild. And again, this triple threat stems from Great American Bash as well. So I'm just like, all right, I guess. I really wanted to like this match. Oh, to nobody's surprise, Obafemi retains the NXT championship as we would. I'm glad he did. I'm glad he pinned Briggs though, because that means Inamura still might have a possibility to run it back again, but doesn't seem like it because we might be getting Briggs and Inamura for a little bit. Again, if that first 50% wasn't spent on watching Inamura and Briggs fight over each other, be like, y'all, this is a championship match. Check this friendship at the door. I think this could have been my favorite match of the night because the second half of this match was good. I just hated the first half of it with this weird storytelling and sped up version we had. Now, we're going to talk about what ended the show, though, because I'm like, please, Shawn Michaels, let this be the direction we're going in. But before we get there, Papa Oso, what did you think of this match?
This was it did nothing for Obafemi. Absolutely nothing. He got nothing out of it except the win at the end. But that was not even because he earned that win. He got it because these two knuckleheads were going at each other. So I don't think Obafemi got anything out of this match. honestly.
No,
And
it's like, again, filler.
yeah, oh yeah. And and the funny thing about it is the one of the best parts of the whole thing happened at the very, very end after they had told Oba he won, is when Josh kicked Inamura into the steel stairs.
Yeah,
That was the
essentially
best part of
kicking
the
off
match,
their
showing
yeah,
that
essentially
they're
kicking off the feud.
and I was like, and that was in the background and you barely saw it. And I'm like, that should have been the focus of whatever the hell you were doing here. Obviously, this match was set up to show this breakup or to start this breakup or whatever. And I think you don't do that and you don't use your champion to do that because it cheapens the champion. Because one, Oba was hardly even in this because we were so focused on the shenanigans between Inamura and Briggs that
Yep,
I completely forgot Oba was even in the damn match until he came in at the end. And I'm just
absolutely.
like, yeah, this whole thing just sort of it really irritated me. It's just
Yeah,
like,
so
God, this could have been so good.
it could
But
have been, and I was like, because
they
all 3 of
did.
these individuals, but, again, Obo walks out. Now, we get into what closed out the show. So the whole show, we've been watching Javon taking notes, asking for advice from all different types of people, where to go next. I mean, Javon was victorious at Great American Bash against Jasper Troy, but he's trying to figure out what direction to go now. And then Undertaker walks in, and I was just like, look, Undertaker is a legend in the business, like, been forever. I might not agree with some of the things he says in his personal life, but at the same time, though, I was just like, I always been ride or die Taker when it comes to giving advice to young wrestlers. So Taker here tells Javon, he asks him if he's figured out his next move. Javon's like, no, I haven't. And so then Undertaker gives Javon the advice that if I were you, I would continue to go after the biggest dog in the yard. So Javon just shakes his head. He's like, yeah, I think you're right. And I was like, please to God, let this be the buildup back to Oba and Javon, where the result is Javon finally taking the title after like a third try. This is the third time that Oba and Javon are about to be entering this feud. And I'm really hoping that this is where Javon takes the title because I'm like, Oba has accomplished everything in NXT. He's beaten almost everybody on this roster. I am pushing the Javon agenda as NXT champion right now. So I'm hoping that's the largest dog in the junkyard analogy. I hope that Oba is what Undertaker's referring to Javon because I'm like, Javon, don't pick anybody else but Oba. Like, set this up where you are at Heatwave and take that title at Heatwave. So, your fingers crossed. We got weeks until Heatwave, so we'll see what happens with all of that. Okay, this was a setup episode. I was like, okay, I think I see where we're going for Heatwave. This is a lot of setup. There's a lot of promo heavy episodes. Setting up feuds for the next couple of weeks. We got things going on, and then now that since NXT and TNA are crossing over all the time, I have to wait until tomorrow evening for TNA to see what our TNA people have to say about the NXT kids grabbing these titles at Slammiversary. But hopefully next week's show will be a little bit more talking points, so we'll see about that. But before we go off for the evening, just to give you a quick update on what's to come for the remainder of the week, later tonight at 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Eastern, Los are in the house to be reviewing CMLL, which is going to be a lot of fun to talk about. Tomorrow evening, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, I will be attempting to run my crazy crew through the Mystery Wrestling 17 review. There's a lot of things that happened. There was some drama. There was some pie throwing, cheeks being clapped. Yes, out of context, I know what that sounds like, but if you want more info, you got to tune into the review tomorrow. Then on Friday, the one that I'm looking forward to the most because we all got lots of opinions and thoughts, we'll be back to review TNA Slammiversary. So we're going to be talking about the whole entire show. There was a lot of good moments and a lot of questions that I had by the end of the night. So we're going to hash all that out this Friday at 7:30 p.m. Pacific, 10:30 Eastern. And then we wrap up the week on Sunday at a special start time of 12 p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern, as we get into our Dual Dynasty review. It's going to be it's going to be an interesting one. We're going to talk about Raw and SmackDown really quickly. We're going to be joined by our friend to the channel, Nick. And then, of course, we're going to be spending some time making our predictions for SummerSlam. Oh my God, it's a 2-night SummerSlam next weekend. Holy shit, this is going to be crazy. But that's going to be it for us here at NXTilosos. I am also happy to announce that next week, after a bit of a hiatus, we will be back to a full trio as Luis will be back joining us next week, which I'm super happy about. So, oh, I've missed him so much. We have missed him, but I'm glad that he's back. He's been keeping up with us and everything. So, this is going to be fun. But that is going to be it for us here. So, me and Papa Oso, we'll see you guys in a little later tonight for CMLL. But until then, adios. And until then, peace.
Thank you so much for tuning in to another Vibe Tribe production. What's gonna happen next time? Well, you're gonna have to tune in to find out. But until then, remember, take care of yourself, love one another, and as always, make sure that you keep the good times rolling. Thank you for being here, and we'll see you next time.